Let's talk to Richard Tice, MP, Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Richard, very good morning to you.
Well, a very good morning to you indeed, Mike. And we're delighted to welcome Sir Jake Berry to the Reform family.
Yes, I mean, it's quite an extraordinary move, isn't it? Former chairman of the Tory party, because not only is he coming in to say that he thinks Reform is the only party that can save Britain, but he actually admits to being part of the destruction of it when he was at Tory HQ.
Well, he's right that Reform is the only party that can save Britain, and I think people quite like it when politicians admit if they got things wrong, apologise, and say this is now how we're going to fix it. And in a sense, that's who we are at Reform. We've got serious plans how to fix things. I'm afraid your previous commentator, James Price, is completely wrong. The reason that we're leading in all of the national polls is that we actually have got the solutions to the country's problems. And I would just gently remind people like him that it was me 15 months ago that stood at a press conference in April 2024 and said that Net Stupid Zero was going to cost £30 billion of taxpayers' cash every single year. And guess what? 2 days ago, the OBR said, Tice is right. It's £30 billion a year of the cost of net zero. So actually, for those of us who criticise our economics, maybe you want to look at the facts and look at the reality, which is our numbers are pretty much bang on.
Well, I must say, I'm not one of those people that criticises your economics, because the economics of any political party up until now, from the whole beginning of this century, have been so awful that we're all saddled with more debt than we've ever seen in our entire lives. I mean, ever since, you know, the dawn of the Iron Chancellor Gordon Brown, who sold off the gold, you know, at its lowest point as opposed to at its highest point, the man who sort of, you know, gave Fred the Shred, and, you know, a knighthood, and watched Nat West literally crash and burn before his very eyes, you know, and then we had George Osborne. Then we had, you know, the ridiculous, you know, useless, hopeless chancellors in Tory government. I don't think anyone's got any right to say anything about it.
And these are the supposed experts, the supposed gurus with their PPEs from Oxford or Cambridge, their think tanks, their SPAD experience. Maybe they've actually completely knackered and ruined the country. And maybe the country is polling for a reform because they realise we need some fresh thinking, some wisdom, some experience from the real world, from normal life.
Well, let's have a quick look at Jake Berry. We'll be speaking to him later on in the show, but let's have a look at what he had to say last night.
Britain is broken. We literally live in a country where you cannot walk down the street with a phone in your hand. We have taxes that are so sky high, the brightest and best are leaving our country in droves, while at the same time a benefit system that is bringing the world's poor to our shores with no control. If you literally want to design a system to destroy a country, you would struggle to do better. And I know who broke it, because I was there. For 30 years, I supported the Conservative Party. For 14 years, I was one of their MPs, sitting at that cabinet table twice. And I want to tell you today, my friends, that I have come to a decision. The old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party. It is only Reform and Nigel Farage who can deliver a Britain that we are proud of again.
And, I mean, he makes a very good argument. Is he going to have a role in the party? Is it clear what he's going to do? Does he want to be an MP?
Well, we're only in day two, Mike, so give us a chance. But the great thing about Sir Jake is he's got a lot of experience. And let's wait and see. But when people say to us, "Well, you're still growing, and have you got the experience to know how to organise things?" Well, actually, bringing in that level of experience of the blob and the hurdles that they'll try and put in front of us is going to be very valuable. We're already seeing it with the 10 councils that we are running, where we're starting to make real progress in stopping ludicrous spending, but we're also seeing the efforts of the blob, and you couldn't make up some of the stuff that's going on, where you see briefing papers and you say, well, hang on, half the information that I want isn't there. It's missing. You have to sort of read between the lines and then go back and ask, and there's a deliberate withholding of critical information by executives. So that's what we're dealing with, but I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. Just watch this space over the coming months.
I'll tell you a story that slightly disturbs me this morning, Richard, and it's the one in the Telegraph about Lord Hermer, who seems to think that the law is the answer to everything. He's basically inserted a whole load of new clauses inside guidelines to lawyers in this country, in which he says that any government minister making policy should be subject to a legal review, which basically means that he believes that any government policy, whether it's yours or the Labour Party's or the Conservative Party's policy, should be subject to a legal kind of study to see whether or not it's lawful.
Well, in reality, they sort of do that already because they're supposed to carry out an impact assessment of all their policies. I actually come from the school of thought, which is that at the end of the day, advisors advise and directors decide. And it's the same in running a government. People can give all the advice they want, but ultimately it's the ministers, the Secretary of State, and ultimately the Prime Minister who have to make decisions, having looked at the range of advice. And sometimes you have to take a bit of a risk on things and see how it goes. That's what you do in the world of business. You take a risk, you monitor it, you see how it's going. Where it's going well, great, double down and accelerate on it. And if it needs a bit of tweaking, if it's not quite right, then you adapt and you adjust. You don't try and cover it up. And I think that we should be running the country in the same way that you run a business, where ultimately you've got to earn more than you spend. Otherwise, you go bust. And that's the horror that faces the UK at the moment. We saw it with the terrifying report from the OBR just a couple of days ago, saying that Britain's finances are right on the edge and we're vulnerable.
Absolutely right. Well, I mean, you'll also appreciate, given that, the numbers game isn't one that the Labour Party played terribly well. Keir Starmer walked into a room with Emmanuel Macron yesterday, hoping to do a deal for 1 in, 1 out on the migrant front. He ends up with 17 in and 1 out.
You couldn't make this up. I mean, how bad is that? I see you chuckling away. It is laughable because it's so bonkers. And what this is going to create is a whole new industry in fake family links and relationships and liaisons between the illegal migrants and supposed long-lost loved ones and family members in the UK. You can see it, you can sense it. It's utterly ludicrous. And that's why, again, reforms policy, you've got to leave the ECHR, scrap the ludicrous Human Rights Act, stop the lefty lawyers, and then we've got to return everybody to France. We know it works. The effective equivalent worked in Australia just over a decade ago. We've got to pick up and take back, and France are failing in their legal obligation to do that, and it requires courageous leaders to do the same, and that's who we are and what we'll do.
Well, also, I mean, ridiculous as it was, I mean, the original idea of 1 in, 1 out was pointless anyway. I mean, without wishing to be too frivolous, I mean, you guys are operating a 1 in, 1 out policy at the moment quite successfully, aren't you?
Well, you can be frivolous all you want, but look at the cabinet MPs, former Tory MPs that are now seeing sense. And yeah, I just think that when you look at the polls, you look at the hundreds of councillors you've got, you look at the fact that we're now leading the polls in Wales. Sure, we're a political disruptor, and we're moving at great speed. And of course, you get bumps in the road, but ultimately, we've got the nous and the courage and the right policies to ride over the bumps and make great progress. And what I'm really struck by every day is people stopping me on the street and saying, please keep going, please keep battling on. And that's absolutely what we're going to do. Yeah.
And what about what happened yesterday in the Houses of Parliament? I mean, I saw you sitting next to Nigel Farage there when he was heckled. Let's just have a quick look at what happened.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The main reason this country decided into this way. Some of you want to get in a little later. If this takes forever, you won't get in. Nigel Farage. Thank you. The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country. Does the Prime Minister understand that that demand today is even greater than it was back in 2016, and that we demand, the country demands, that you say to the French President, will you shut up?
Don't be so disrespectful.
undocumented males across the English Channel, and that you are not dictated to by an increasingly arrogant anti-Brexit French president.
I mean, it's pathetic, isn't it? It really is pathetic. And it doesn't look as if Lindsay Hoyle is that bothered about it.
Yeah, it was a pretty chaotic scene. And I think that the very strange things were going on with the microphones and the speakers, because the MP behind us, he was basically continually interrupting and shouting.
This is the guy from Dewsbury, right?
I could barely hear Nigel myself, and then we had another Lib Dem from over my left shoulder shouting, and it was a deliberate attempt to disrupt Nigel, but quite rightly he carried on, and ultimately this has done us another huge favour. People realise that in a sense the Commons is trying to prevent Nigel from being heard, and I think people find that very distasteful.
Yeah, I think they do, and again, it's just more grist to the mill, really, for people who are fed up to the back teeth of the establishment politics in this country, and people who can't seem to even give each other the time of day. It's nonsensical. Richard, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of Reform UK.